Okay, welcome to Bark Banter. I am Skyler. I own Redemption Dog Training in Denver, Colorado. This is Kevin. He's this random dude we found to be on the podcast. He's supposedly a dog trainer, so we're gonna find out. Just kidding, we actually know him.
To be fair, it was more just like, "Hey, Macy, you have a podcast?"
Yeah.
And then Macy just like she messaged me back, and I'm just like, "Oh, she actually got back to me."
So tell us a little bit about yourself, your dog training career, and I know you have another podcast as well. Maybe some of our viewers be interested in listening in.
Yes.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, let's see. Describe myself and all those things. Definitely could take the whole podcast. Just kidding. Let's see. I'm in Northern California, Santa Rosa, and actually, and then do you guys know Michael Ellis?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, so his school, I live 5 minutes away from the school.
That's
Nice.
So
awesome.
if people don't know where Santa Rosa is, just say it's a few minutes from Michael Ellis. Um,
Very cool.
but I've been training dogs for like started. I had my business for 6 years. I think this is year six for 2024, and I do a lot of in-home lessons. I do group classes. I also do large field socializations with my clients that I can definitely go into since we're talking about socialization for today. And I've taken time every year to go to conferences like International Association of Canine Professional Conference, or I've gone to different workshops like J Jack, Heather Beck, even like Bart Balone, and even just and the list just goes on and on. And you know, I love to learn, and I just do whatever I make sure I learn from the best to make sure I expand my toolbox.
Hmm.
And yeah, just otherwise like I love to make friends. I love to work with dogs, and I try to do my best to help people give people the knowledge they need to give the best life for them and their dog. So
That's wonderful. So I guess my next question is, tell the viewers a little bit about your training style. Just a very quick run through. Um,
oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, yeah, right now my train like how most of us are, right? Like it's a lot, like 80% of my thing is very like positive reinforcement. I like to use food, I'll use toy, especially like me hanging around J Jack. I love to play tug with dogs. I love to just like have a go as like if they got a good game of tug, I'm gonna pull out my tug toy in the car, just be like, all right, come bite this toy. Let's play a good tug before our training session. And you know, like how we all say is like it depends on the dog. Like sometimes I could
mhm.
just use mainly all the big positive reinforcement, and there's sometimes where I might need to use the correction, whether it's like maybe using the like pet convincer, maybe like a little, maybe like put some tension on the leash to have them sit, or maybe like a little pinch collar pop, things like that. Like nothing like newsworthy, like drama, like abuse, yank and crank kind of thing. So
We don't judge
um,
here
No,
no,
unless
no
you abuse
judgment.
dogs. So,
it's the only thing we judge on.
yeah.
Yeah, I know you girls love drama. You guys love to hear drama. So.
We do love
Speaking.
drama on this podcast.
So speaking of which, let's hear it. What you brought to us.
Let's see. I have one story about how a forestry trainer tried to convert me. What like a
Ooh,
few like maybe
interesting.
like a month ago or like 2 months ago.
All right, give
So
us the details.
let's see. It all started with I didn't even know she was around. Like she sent me an email. She's like, "Hey, I would love to refer clients to you, and I just have a few questions to ask." I'm like, "Okay, sure, shoot your questions." And then soon as she gave certain question, then I was like, "Oh, I know where this is going." She was like, "So what methods do you use? What's concept? Are you like certified or learn from IAABC? Like like those
Yeah.
there's so certain association." Then I was just like, "No, I'm part of IACP, and I've learned from like." And like, do you follow Lima? I'm like, I do real Lima. I'm like, how
Right.
about
The
you?
actual Lima.
The actual Lima. And after that, she's like, oh, we'd love to get you on the phone. And then we talk to each other on the phone, ask me same questions, and I try to talk to her in the least confrontational way, where I was just like, like I say, like you, I do a lot of reinforcement. I, use toys, I use food for motivation, and there are some dogs that just need a correction here and there to let them know like that's not what we want and just give feedback. And then immediately just interject. She was just like, I don't think dogs need corrections. I feel like dogs need just she said how they just need more time apparently, and then it was like she's going off to you like, well, I would love to have it where you're 100% pure positive, and you know even offered the shadow, like say, yo, you're free to shadow me, like, and I was just like, okay. And then she's like, like, I want to watch you work dogs like in a group class or something, and then I was like, yeah, 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 I'll let you know. And I never got back to her
God.
because but it was literally just like I didn't even try to argue, and I was just saying, I was like, well, before you're hasty, right? Assuming, and I said
Mm-hmm.
I have learned from also from other pure positive trainers like Grisha Stewart and Micah Shikashio.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I said, 90% of the time I use a lot of reinforcement, and I use a lot of motivation, and it depends on each dog. And then she's like, well, I want you to be 100%, and I'm like, okay, there's no talking my way out of this, so it's fine.
There's no in between in this one.
Mm-mm.
Nope. But that's my drama. It's like,
I mean, I think that's a lot juicier than what you're giving it credit, though, because like that's such a common thing in the dog training world. Um, I mean, Skyler's had run-ins like that. I've had run-ins like that. I'm pretty sure every trainer out there has had run-ins like that. Um, and I mean, it's one of those things. It's kind of annoying, especially if like we know we're doing good work. We know that we're over here trying to give the best for our dogs.
and like for me, like I have friends who are force free, but the thing, like I hang out with them, I don't talk dog, just because it's just like we'll have different we'll have most of the time we'll talk about it when we have the same like point of view with the dog. But then like if we talk about like methods or tools, I just choose not to like go down that rabbit hole. Like I just know like who to go down the rabbit hole with, instead of just like do it with every single person, like because
Mm-hmm.
like for me and my friend, we just hang out, we have lunch, we talk about life. We don't even talk about like methods and things like that.
That's probably the best way to do it, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If there's no way to come to some sort of like agreement, which I feel like there isn't most of the time. Like we just have to we do the same thing and we all help dogs and we do it in different ways, and that's just how it is.
oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, we're all here to do the same thing, basically just in a way that might help different types of dogs. We're all on the dog side here.
oh yeah. And I tell people like, as long as you're not beating the dogs and things like that, I respect how you train dogs. And if what you're doing is keeping dogs happy and at home, like not in the shelter and things like that, then cool. Then I just do my best to, I never am like I'm never like you should do this instead. It's like I more suggest you could do this
Mm-hmm.
to add to your toolbox, instead of like you should or you have to.
Yeah, I'm that kind of trainer too. I tell people a lot of like, you can do this. I suggest you do this, but I'm never like, you have to do this specific
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, if I have a client who specifically does not want to use a certain type of tool, okay, cool, I won't. I mean, I might try to educate them and show them, and majority of my clients do come around and they want to do that. But I've had a few clients in the last 6 years that just wanted to just do treat training and positive reinforcement only, and I'm like, all right, cool, let's do it.
Hmm. Oh yeah. And like especially it's just like especially the client's comfort level. I think the big important thing is to educate
Mm-hmm.
as many pet owners as we can, just because I've had it where even my group class, I've had clients who educated my other clients in the class about when they use an e-collar. And then I hear them go, "Oh, that's cool." And then it was just, I
Mhm.
didn't even need to talk. It was my client.
That's really good. That means you have really good clients.
Yes.
Yeah, I love my clients. They're so supportive, and like I couldn't ask for better clients. And I definitely had my share of crappy clients, but like 90% of them have been really good. And so like I always give them shout outs, or I always, I'm I'm like their best friend. And literally all my clients now, they always go, "Do you want to see Uncle Kevin?" And they're immediately just get so excited, which I'm like, "No, don't come in too hot like that. Let's not."
Dude, I'm like, hey, stop getting your dog hyped to see me. Like,
Oh,
stop telling them I'm coming.
oh, you have no idea. Especially like on every Sunday morning when I do my large field socialization play groups, they know what time it is.
Hmm.
And then they all go, and all my clients are, "You want to go see Uncle Kevin?" And they just start pulling towards the gate and things like that.
Oh.
And I'm just like, okay. I'm like, well, you set you all set this up for your dog. Like, I
You
can't
did
say
it.
anything. This is
Right.
all you. This is not me. So, but yeah, I love educating. And like even like when someone talks about like using an e-collar, I'm just like, what e-collar do you have, what brand? And then when they pull
Mhm.
it out, I'm gonna be like, okay, cool, probably not, let's not use this Amazon collar for $30.
Mm.
I will I will pull out an e-collar from my car, and I'm like, okay, look, see how this level 1 to 100 versus Amazon collar 1 to 10.
Yeah.
And then just, like, this is how I do it. And if we want to go more in depth with it, we can, but this is just to educate you on this. And so it's just like whether they use it or not, it's like as long as I teach them, it's like, especially with clients, you have to keep it simple for them. And like also like you also just have to talk to them. Like I'm like, I feel like a doctor sometimes, where it's like, I don't when someone says, do you want to, like, maybe we should use this with him, I'm like, I don't think he's ready for that. So
Mhm.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, I've made the joke before that we're like dog therapists.
Yeah, we are people therapists, is what we
And that
are.
too. That too. We should absolutely go get that in our background,
can,
PhD.
yeah, I'm
There is
gonna.
actually a couple.
Yeah,
Oh,
I know of.
I feel like I'm Dr. Phil, couple therapist, and dog trainer at the same time, because I even have
Yeah.
to deal with the couples that are like disagreeing.
dude, those are
That's
the
my least
worst.
favorite thing.
Those are the worst.
That's my least favorite thing, is like sitting there like mediating somebody's marriage.
I'm just sitting there, and then like there's some times where like I'll say something, and they're like, "Oh my God, how do you know that he does that?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just a guy, you know. Guys, like, if he like we just do that, or like or
Yeah.
like or there's it's just so funny how like
Mhm.
when you're the girlfriend, wife, or the other, they come in so a lot more stressful with like their reactive dog, and they're just like, oh my God, they gotta be careful about everything and detail about everything. Meanwhile, husband goes on the walk, just chill,
Oh
like
yeah.
nonchalant.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, you need to be more like your husband, that kind of don't care, but your husband's gonna have to care a little bit
We
more.
need a middle ground here. Can we have like a middle?
Yeah, I'm like, you need to be chill as your husband. Your husband needs to be vigilant like you.
Right.
You gotta
Yeah.
have to like you're gonna have to like switch places for like a kind of go a little bit in between.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So our topic today is socialization. This is always guest choice, our topic. So you guys don't get a vote for this, just for the record. The guest gets to pick our topic because that is
Mhm.
the nice thing to do.
I think we should definitely start with a definition, like we do for a lot of our viewers out there,
Yep.
on what a dog trainer's idea of socialization is. And everybody that we come across tends to have a little bit different of that idea. So, Kevin, why don't you take us on your definition of what socialization is for you?
Yeah, that's such a big rabbit hole right there, but I'm gonna do my
Mhm.
best to have my definition for it. So, like for me, I feel like socialization, it's well, usually I'm gonna go off with how my clients think socialization is, and they think it's like every dog should go up to all the other dogs, be friendly and play, and like go up to say hi to every person. Like for me, I end up talking to my clients and educating them and say like, hey, when you have a socialized dog, like it's your dog can be in the presence around people, dogs, stimuli, and not have to go like interact, but like
Mhm.
not be so excited, but not be fearful and like lunging, right? Because I have clients with dogs who are just super reactive, whether they're fearful, like most of them are very fearful, aggressive than actual like, murder dogs, thank God. But I have clients that like, they want their fearful dog to be a golden retriever like later after the training. They go, no, this is your dog does not have to go up to and make friends. Your dog can just accept the presence of the other things and not be okay with it and like whether like and we can go in depth like how you can help with them help them in that case, but just to be okay, just accepting the presence of all these different things such as sound, and all these like loud sound stimuli and just, people, kids, bikes, just being able to just come out and accept, okay, cool, there's a bike. Okay, cool, there's a dog. Okay, cool, there's a clown coming out of a small ass car, just like
Do you hire clowns in cars?
hell no, I do not like clowns at all. And
Oh
then like
man.
I'm
I
with you on that one.
I was
Clowns
gonna
are
I
be
mean,
so
scary.
excited.
I am
No,
not
clowns are scary.
I'm not that cool that I'm just gonna have a clown on call just like be like, all right, bring in the clown."
That would be a really cool that would be a really cool class though, I think.
Oh my god, if anything, that's gonna be me that has to dress up as the clown.
I mean, that's what I have to do for all of mine. Like, I'm the person on the skateboard and the person on the bike and, like, I'm the
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to dress up as Santa Claus for my Christmas play group because people wanted to take. I offered to have dogs take pictures with me with Santa, but then I was like, you know what? Let me just dress up as the whole Santa costume while I run the whole group and get them used to it. So
I
then
love
by the
that.
time we
Mhm.
finished, they knew it was me. So all I needed to do was put on the white beard and the hat. I'm like, all right, come on, let's take some pictures.
I love that.
That's wonderful.
But
All
I hope
right.
that was a good definition for you guys because that's how usually I talk to my clients
No, that
about it.
was great.
Yeah, I love the common speak in dog training. I
Yes.
definitely speak like that a lot just because it's not really ideal for a lot of clients if you're like over here talking in a very scientific type of way about dog training. They don't, they're not gonna catch on to that nearly as well as they are the common speak. So I like the common speak that you're doing. Um, I would have to say like my definition for socialization or a well socialized dog is a dog that's neutral, kind of similar to what you were saying, but a dog that can go into an accepting of any environment. It doesn't matter where we're going. The dog might be, looky, a little hesitant, but then he's just going to get into a rotation and just start going about it. Um, I don't think socialization is a dog that is going to be overexcited to go up to anybody and everybody and see other dogs. They get to go to the park all the time, or they get to go to doggy daycare all the time. That's not enough socialization for a dog to understand how to behave appropriately in a human world, you know? So for me, socialization is neutrality to and acceptance to all environments, all sounds, all situations, but not being overexcited about it or being fearful or being aggressive.
You
Skylar?
know what? You know what? As you said neutrality, that was the word I was missing. That's why I paused, and then as you said it, it just popped out of my like a light bulb. I'm like, God damn it!
That's
I do
okay, 'cause,
I do that all
I
the time.
forget words all the time. Uh, yeah,
Same.
yeah. Um, yeah, I think that's mostly, yeah, all of what you guys said. Now, I will say I have found with some dogs that, like, they have to get used to being touched. So I find the what most people say is, like, your dog never has to meet anybody else, and your dog never has to meet any other dog. I find that slightly untrue. I think that dogs do have to meet certain people, like
Mhm.
trusted people who are going to treat them correctly, to learn to be handled by people, because some dogs just don't like it. And then as far as dog stuff goes, I think it is important that dogs learn how to interact with other dogs and in a safe way, so that just in
Oh yeah.
case.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, especially like, client dogs have to go to the vet to get examined, and then
Mhm.
especially now these days that they, how the some like when COVID happened, like people like the vet techs were taking the dogs from their cars and bringing them into the back.
Yeah.
That was that was just everyone's night, all the dogs' nightmare would just be like, I don't have my parent with me and things like that, or especially
Mhm.
groomers,
Mhm.
or especially like when you have dog sitters. Like I have clients with reactive dogs that they don't trust their dogs at boarding facilities and things like that, but then they're have stranger danger, so then they always ask me like, hey, do you know anyone that can do dog sitting for especially my dog? And I'm like,
Mhm.
and then I have to look for the people that like, okay, they can be patient enough for your dog versus like others.
Right,
Mhm.
right. Yeah, I think that's all good.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I agree with you, Skylar. Like, I'm not definitely saying that dogs should ever meet anybody ever. That's the total opposite of socialization. I just don't think they need to meet everyone all the time. You know,
yeah.
they need to meet they need to get used to meeting strangers, but they need to also get used to passing strangers and
Oh,
not
yeah, for
saying
sure.
hi to everybody. Same thing with dogs. I think that they do need to be socialized outside of the dogs that they see every day, but they do not. They also need to learn how to pass by them and ignore them,
Yeah.
especially if you live in a big city. I know a lot of the country dogs where I'm at. We don't get that a lot. You actually have to go and find that distraction out here. It's very
Right.
hard. Whereas where Skylar lives, it probably is
They're
pretty
all over,
easy.
up and down the
Yeah,
street.
yeah. And I don't know where you're at in California, but if
I
it's
was
like the
gonna
big
say, I would
cities,
guess his is the same too.
Yeah,
Dogs all over the
we,
place.
I mean, we have it's kind of like a 50-50 between both of you. Like we have suburb, but we also have people that out in the country that's just like dog has like 2-3 acres, and then they're like complaining, oh, my dog's barking. Where's your dog at? 3 acres that way. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, well, I can't help you there. Your dog's
Can't
like
help
hella
you
far
with your
away.
dog that far away, sorry.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, like I agree. Like I feel like in some cases where like yeah, your dog's gonna have to like go. Like, I just worked with a client today that we spent a good 40 minutes, like 20 minutes of the dog lunging at me with the owner, holding the owner with the owner, and then it got to the point where I was like, okay, give me the leash.
Yep.
And then we spent 20 minutes where he just kept muzzle punching me and bum bum bum. And then as I'm trying to get it situated, the muzzle comes off, and I'm like, lovely. I told them, and they all laughed when I said I had to go to Cold Stone afterwards just to like give myself some ice cream therapy afterwards.
I love that. I should start doing
Uh,
ice cream therapy.
and then we met with I met with them right before you guys. The roommate the roommate's girlfriend moved in, and so he is not about the girlfriend because every time the girlfriend comes, they put him up. And so
Mhm.
it's like he was just so territorial and things like that. But we met at a park, and like he actually got to sniff her like with her back towards the dog and things like that. And that's an example of like like Skylar, right? They're gonna have to be comfortable with certain people or
Yeah.
like a certain way of handling and things like that. And I usually just tell people like your dog can probably do interact with some people or two. They just need accommodations.
mhm.
Right. The only reason I brought it up is because I did actually have an eval not that long ago where she was like, I saw this Michael Ellis video and he was talking about dog neutrality to people and other dogs. She goes, so I just stopped letting my dog meet people and other dogs. Well, you know why she called me? She called me because her dog can't be handled by
Oh
anybody,
yeah,
because the only person who had ever handled this dog its entire life was this person. And so, like, I want to say, like, there's a mix in there. Your dog does
Yeah.
actually have to be handled by some people. Like, neutrality is the biggest thing that we're all going for. But I feel like everybody goes, like, to one side of the spectrum where they go the Ian Dunbar route, where they're like, your dog has to meet 100 people in 100 days. Or they go, like, the complete neutrality route and the dog doesn't meet anybody.
yeah. There's no like perfect
There's
middle.
no
It's like
balance in there.
there's either ignore everything or say hi to everyone, and then there's
Yeah.
no like in between.
Yeah, I
I
feel
feel
like nobody's
like
going for balance.
I feel like I do balance with that.
Well, I feel like we all do balance with that. I just don't think anybody talks about it.
No, then maybe not. So I go off the rule that I think we took up whenever we went to school together was within the first year of the dog's life, they need to be meeting 200 different people, and going, so many. I don't remember the many places that they go. They had like a list of places they would send dogs.
Yeah.
And then we're kind of talking more about like puppy raising and service dog or working dog type of scenarios with that idea. Not so much for like pet dogs that have issues. I think this is more to avoid those issues, in my opinion, when we're talking about like raising your puppy within the first year with proper socialization.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's like I said, to me, that sounds like a middle ground between 100 people in 100 days or none at all, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And then, it's dogs are so just having different dogs is just depends, right? Because like you could have a dog that was a stray off of Mexico, or like you could have like an island dog, or you could have like I've had clients who have dogs who've had puppies that were a lot more fearful, reactive, but then were given like a socialization handout to go and say hi to everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and it made it worse
Oh, absolutely.
because it was not the nice. It's a nice list and sheet of what to do, but with the wrong kind of puppy, like
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
that's why.
question: Do y'all
Yeah.
feel like socialization can also be, or I guess more like accepting different types of socialization could be more like a genetic thing as well? Like if the dog wasn't bred properly, it turned out to be more fear aggressive, even if or even just fearful in general of different stimuli, even though it was socialized really well as a puppy. Because I feel like for me, I do come across that with a lot of dogs that couldn't handle socialization or couldn't handle changes around them, and a lot of it was directly from like that's how their parents were, or they don't know their history, but then you give me a dog that was it 2 years old, never socialized ever, but was really good genetics, and it was like they just caught on really quickly, even though they had an issue earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, genetics is always like a big component for me. So then, like, whenever I'm going to a client's house and they're talking about the social issue or whatever issue, right? I'm always asking like, hey, how long ago did this dog start displaying this issue? Did it start like right off the bat, like as a puppy, or like did you guys meet the parents? Like how were their temperament, things like that? I mean, definitely when like I'll get more of the fear aggression, like really insecure dogs that are just like having all the growling, the barking, and like the really like those are the dogs that I say, okay, these guys need more of an accommodation and just practice a little bit more neutrality, but work on some self confidence, and like, and I also like give those dogs like a choice, like if you come check out this person, sniff sniff, you want to walk away, cool,
Yeah.
we're gonna do that, versus like like a good example is like I had like a border collie mix, super intense reactivity at like 6 months old. That was like that. I remembered I asking him, where did you get this dog? Oh, one farmer's dog went crossed the fence to have puppies with the other farmer's dog, and then the other farmer's my friend. My friend was like, you want a puppy? And we go, cool. And I'm like, so you went from a ranch puppy that had a whole farm to a small 2-bedroom house in the
Mm-hmm.
suburbs. And I was just like, okay, this explains so much.
Mm-hmm. Well, not only that,
Versus,
but like working dog on top of that, like something that's bred to do something all the time and use its mouth.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, especially like like, and there's so much of a rabbit hole just talking about like working line, show line, and then it's just like when I have a client bring in a lab, and I'm like, why is he so hyper? Why is he so like chasing everything, bird, squirrel, or things like that? I'm like, when you got this dog, what line did they say is he from? Is he hunting or is he like show line? And he's like hunting. I'm like, Like, I wonder why,
Yeah,
you know?
maybe you should have asked what the parents were doing instead of how pretty were they.
I
Yeah,
know.
for sure. I feel like a
So,
pretty dog definitely blinds people.
Every time the pretty dogs will get you. That's how I ended up with Coconut. Like Coconut is I got her from a shelter, and she's Australian cattle dog, border collie, and coyote. And they'd had her
really?
they'd had her at the shelter since she was 8 weeks old. So she'd been at the shelter for like a year before I got her. And 3 days in, she started biting people, and I was like, "What is going on?" But yeah, it makes complete sense now that I know things about dogs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, I think I think with people when like, cause I always tell people there's a disadvantage for over socialization, and then there's
Mhm.
like disadvantage for under socialization, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like I had clients who like try to socialize them in all different ways, you know, hand them off. Like, especially I had this one chocolate King Charles Spaniel named called McLovin, and he was not loving at all. He was just reactive, just
It's a
bark,
really
bark,
cute
bark.
name, though.
He was handsome. Like, I have never met a chocolate cavalier, but my God, they're like chocolate labs, where it was just like this should not be a thing. But it was just like barking, reactive, would not stop, and then like they wanted to breed him for the color. And
Mm.
I was like, yeah, no, I don't think you should breed him because he looks good looking, but his temperament is not good.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely believe in breeding for temperament.
Yep.
Um, I mean, I feel like if your dog isn't bred for temperament, and you're having socialization issues and it's like a genetic thing, I feel like a lot of puppies show that very early on. I feel like there should be no reason that your 14-week-old puppy is like shutting down, lunging at people, barking nonstop at people, like all the things that shows a reactive dog at 14 weeks old.
Hmm.
Like to me, I'm like, that's a genetic issue.
Yeah.
We might need to, yeah, talk about what your realistic goals are because genetically, I can't fix that. But I definitely talk with clients about how if that's an issue that I see, let's talk about what your realistic goals are, and typically that is just getting the dog to not be reactive, and you have to be on top of that 24/7. Um, my grandma currently, if she watches it, I talk about her all the time.
I was gonna say, you bring up your grandma in almost every episode.
To be fair, I do talk to her about her dogs a lot. Um, I've chilled out over the years as I've become more mature about my dog training and knowing that I can't fix everybody. But currently, she has one that she rescued. That dude is so genetically fucked up, bro. Like he's doing a lot better. I will say that. We've done a lot of exposing. I actually have a cute little video of him opening up to me and getting playful. While we were out in public. He hasn't barked and lunged at somebody through the kennel, or out since the first like 2 weeks that we've got him in. But I do fear that putting him back in like the situation that he was with my grandma might make that backtrack a little bit. So another client that I had, they're Labradoodle. You can say what you want about Labradoodles or doodles in general, but I do like them for the most part as long as they're bred appropriately. She was just 50-50. And she was not socialized at first when we got her. I mean, she wasn't horrible when I met her either, but you could definitely tell that there was like some confidence issue, like new things scared her, like she wasn't totally comfortable with certain things. But within the 6 weeks of my board and train course, she was like a completely she just like as soon as she realized that, oh, this is what life is now, she just started accepting it. And I feel like to me that's a genetically appropriate dog that can just accept things and let it roll off their back like a duck, especially like scary situations. I
People can
find
say
that
what they
it's
want about doodles, but they are very biddable when it comes to things like that.
yeah, I mean, and the thing is I've also had some that are not. That it definitely took a little bit longer, a little bit more. But it's very rare that I come across those, by the way.
That's the thing, is like even the ones that are like kind of messed up, it is easier to get them back to where they should be, I have found.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can even flip that to say like if we're gonna be talking about different breeds, pitties, like pit bull breeds, bully breeds. Like or some of them are really good at being with genetically sound with dogs, but a lot of them, that's where you get dog fights from because unfortunately, they are bred or at some point were when it was allowed to be bred to not handle other dogs. So now we have a lot of dog selective pitties. Um, and I mean, genetics is such a big thing. You know, it's not that it is just, a lot of people have it in their head that it's how you raise the dog. No, that's not true. I've had some dogs who were raised amazingly, were never made to fight another dog in their life, but that's all they wanted to do. Was never beat. But guess what? They shy away every time somebody raises their hand, you know? Like, to me, there's such a genetic component that us dog trainers are always trying to battle. When it comes down to certain breeds, I deal with a lot of cane corsos or a lot of guardian breeds. I feel, talking about over socialization, I feel for a very solid mastiff breed, you need to over socialize them because they are such a suspicious of strangers, guardy type of dog. That's what they were bred for. You know, whenever you under socialize them or just socialize them at the medium level, there's still a level of suspicious of strangers that they're always going to have that can potentially get you in trouble later on. You know,
Yeah.
I have my roommate's pity just watching out the window, like just on patrol, you know.
Yeah, he's very appropriate with dogs, but I will say I don't put him in situations where dogs are actively dog aggressive because he will finish it. Like, he won't start it, but he will finish it if he feels like he has to. And that's not a situation I want to put him in. But it's genetics.
Yeah, absolutely. Genetics plays such a big role in socializing dogs, and that's something that I think needs to be normalized in dog training. I feel like a lot of trainers out there will be like, oh, he just needs to be socialized more. Oh, he just, you're not doing the socialization right. Or socialization can take so many years to get your dog to be accepting of some things. At some point, like, training, in my opinion, shouldn't take years unless you're doing a working dog. Like, that's just unrealistic for a lot of pet owners, is to spend their entire lives, put away everything else, stop everything else to be all about that dog's training,
Yeah. And I think too, I mean, going back to like the over socialization part, I mean, I think it just depends, right? Like, if you have like a dog that's coming up from like a ranch, or like if you have a dog that's like coming from like, reservations, or like, just a different genetic background, or a different like background aside from the, your usual breeders, like good breeders for temperament, things like that. Like, it just depends on the dog, I would say, just because it's like I feel like people don't look at the dog that they have. They just listen to what they get from the internet, or like what their friends say, but they never look at the dog in front of them to like say, is this appropriate for my dog?
Right.
If the situation works, right? If I look at the dog, this dog would be great for those kind of situations, like, for sure, right? But if I know like my dog might need more neutrality, more like desensitization, or maybe start with one person just standing there. Okay, go up and sniff. Good dog, walk away, right? It's like, that's the kind of thing where it's like, I feel people need to just look at the dog they have, and make the best call for that situation, for that dog, versus like if you have a cupcake golden retriever or lab, okay, cool, that's all totally different protocol, when we just have to work on, okay, sit and sniff the person, instead of just like go up to their face and
don't jump on
jumping
people.
on them and things like that, right? And then like, with genetics and things like that, right? People look at one nice couple with a pit bull, super solid and sound, and they go, I want a dog like that. Then they go to the shelter and find a dog that looks like them, totally different background. Like, and I go, yeah, that's a 50-50 chance you got there, And I mean, unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way, where, I put my dogs around asshole dogs that I was doing boarding trains and things like that, and it just made my dogs burnt out from just being around them in general. But like my Malinois, I let her pick the young dogs and puppies that she wants to play with and things like that. Like, and if she walks away, cool. But if she sniffs and then she gets like, she bounces around and things like that, cool. Like, especially like, she just turned 8 years old, maybe like a few days ago. But the one thing I 100% know that she will play with and go for is like intact males. Like, she goes from like 8-year-old to like 1-year-old whore, just like, oh, you got balls, I love balls. And she just like bounce around, runs, have zoomies. And I'm like, okay, I guess this is how it works, you know. And
That's so cute.
just knowing what your dog's like, I think just also finding out like what dogs that your dog prefers, like temperament wise, you know, like because
Yeah.
I never will put my dog in a situation where there's another bitchy
Yeah.
female in the
Yeah.
area. That I'm just like, if I see it coming, I'm just like heel, like come right here,
Mm-hmm.
come on the right side while the dog's on this side, and just make it go away if I have to, right? But just
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
making like tactical strategies like that, where like if you see something that your dog, because like you get people that are like, oh, they'll figure it out. I'm like, no, that if
There's
that
trainers that do that. They're like, "Oh, just let them go figure out dog body language," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"What?"
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just times where like if it's a dog I know gives appropriate correction, things like that, for sure. But if I know if it's my dog, I'm like, she is not gonna give you an inappropriate correction. She's gonna send you a vet bill.
Right.
My Malinois is like probably super super really good with a lot of dogs, but like if it ever came down to actually correcting another dog, she would probably go a little overboard. But my Aussie's like great with corrections. I put all my puppies with her. She would be like, "Look, I don't want to play with you if you're in my face," and she'll correct them for it. And for all those listening out there, like a correction is very much like when it comes from other dogs and you're watching other dogs play. Corrections do not need to be like so over the top that you think it's a dog fight.
They
But
shouldn't be.
yeah, but if your dog is snapping at another dog, does not mean it's aggressive. I get so many calls a day about, oh, we just got a new puppy and the older dog is being aggressive to them. Like, no, your dog is giving them boundaries just like you give your children boundaries. Let them.
That's not
Also,
always true.
also probably it didn't help that they have like a 10-year-old dog, and then all of a sudden they bring an 8-week-old puppy, and the older dog is like, what the hell? Why you make me babysit at my old age of life?
I just got a client like that actually. They just got a baby Yorkie, and they have an 11-year-old Chihuahua.
That is whoa. Yeah,
Chihuahua's
you're
not very
older.
happy.
The whole idea that, oh, I'm gonna get a puppy to make my younger dog feel, more energetic. That's not every older dog. Most older dogs don't like that.
Yeah,
Most
they
older
would like to
dogs,
just live out their lives.
yeah, don't get your puppy. Wait till your dog is gone and peacefully, resting before you bring in another energetic, hyper all over the place, no boundaries puppy.
Yeah, and I mean also too. I mean, like if I ask my clients, I'm like, okay, if you're an 80-year-old, would you want to have a baby?
I love
Like,
that. I'm gonna start
That's a
using
really
that.
good. Yeah, that's really good.
I literally ask them like put them in the dog's boots.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Skyler, you were just saying something earlier about how that's not always the case. So give me your opinion on that.
Oh, that it's not always the case that the older dog is just like giving boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
That actually the case that I was just talking about, the Yorkie and the Chihuahua. The Chihuahua is resource guarding because it's all his stuff, or at least he thinks it's all his stuff. And so every time the Yorkie gets close to literally anything, he freaks out on him.
Interesting.
And so, yeah, it's not always the older dog like giving like super appropriate corrections. Sometimes they just are like, you just brought this intruder into my home and this is my stuff. Why do they keep trying to steal my stuff? So
yeah, and then you also like jumping onto that though, like then that's like people think like, oh, that's socialization. That situation in particular, if it's not a dog that's super stable with puppies and will give them an appropriate correction for being like too rambunctious or too rowdy or in their face or just inappropriate in general, then you end up with bad socialization on a puppy. And that's going to cause some issues later down the road. Then that puppy is going to think that either A, that aggressive body language is appropriate, or B, that all dogs are like that and they're going to be scared of dogs. And that's not what we want.
Yep.
Yeah, and then I also catch too that a lot of clients like when they bring puppies, they just want them to play with like every single dog from like 8 weeks, like, which I don't mind playtime. Like playtime's great, but I feel like they don't put them around dogs that are like mature or like calm. You know, like all they do is like they like, oh, let's take them to the dog park to play. But then the problem is they never teach their dogs to be calm around like other calm dogs. And so that's where it's like, I always suggest to my clients, like, hey, if your dog spends too much time playing with other dogs, they never learn how to be calm. And
Mhm.
then what happens is like they go up to like an older dog that's not about play and things like that, right? So that's why you want your dog to learn neutrality. Like, okay, if he's not playing, I don't have to play. I can just sniff or pee, with them
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah,
just
like
always play.
I hate dog parks for that specific reason. You never know what you're gonna get. And whenever you're raising your puppy in the first year of its life for like proper socialization and a dog that has super solid genetics, like then you need to be extra careful about like everything this dog's being exposed to. That way it's not an issue later on. I don't mind doggy daycares. I like doggy daycares that have a lot of structure. Not doggy daycares that are just like free for all, like go run and play. Like it needs to have a schedule, it needs to have a lot of mental stimulation that are not just playing with other dogs. And you're just because your dog's coming home tired from doggy daycare does not mean that it was productive. You know, that just means that that dog literally just ran his energy out all day and was just overexposed all day. So yeah, you're gonna be tired after that. I mean, imagine being at a giant parade for a week straight. So I mean, like, I definitely think there's definitely a balance between all of it. It's not just socialization is not just one thing, and that's what I think is so hard for people to understand. It's
Hmm.
it's definitely just not one thing. Your dog should be meeting dogs their own age. It should be meeting older dogs that are appropriate puppies. It should be. I mean, if it wants to go to daycare, cool. But then you should also be working with that and working on like, okay, if we see another dog, we're gonna ignore them. Should be going on walks and just passing other people and not just getting to say hi to other people, but it also needs to be taking treats from other people or, you know, uh, getting to actually meet other people appropriately and not be jumping all over them, all crazy like. And this is like all scenarios, by the way, that I'm talking about a brand new puppy, like puppy that has really solid foundation to build that socialization. I'm not talking about a dog that has socialization issues or aggression. We're not talking about that. That's a totally different thing. That takes actually Skyler could probably talk about that a little bit more than I can.
Actually, I was just gonna say, yeah, if you plan on getting a puppy, just take a year off, um, and then you will probably have a really good puppy as
You,
long as you plan
you
a
know
lot
it's
of
crazy.
things.
It's crazy. I think I saw this thing maybe like 2 years ago where Europe will give you puppy leave.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
they like they you it's like maternity leave, but for having a new dog, which
yeah.
is I thought was insane.
It's awesome, and they also force them to get training. Like training is like just like a normal thing that they do on the regular,
That
which
needs to
is
be
awesome.
here. That needs to be here.
Oh
Like
yeah.
like if you're getting a puppy, plan to have training. Do not just and not just I'm gonna train it myself because I want to learn. No, go get a professional trainer, bro.
And
Like
not just puppy classes. Like
no, not just
plan
puppy
on
classes.
continuing. Like find something you want to do with that dog and
Your
like
whole first year of raising that dog should be training with a trainer involved the entire time, because you're gonna come across like your terrible twos. You're gonna come across like all of your things. Like it should be something that you're doing consistently. That's why we have follow up group classes.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think you have fear periods, you have like that sensitive like 4 to 10 month period that's like, you know, if something happens during that time, then your dog's just gonna be like extra like more paranoid about or worried about other dogs or people, whatever incident happened.
Mm-hmm.
And even just having it where like as long as you have structure like with daycares and things like that. I know a lot of my daycares are very like not as structured, but like even with my large field socialization classes, right, like I let the dogs be dogs, I let them play, but I do it, but it's under supervision where like someone
Mm-hmm.
like me can come and deal with the control freaks or deal with like if a dog is getting into the other dog's space a little too much. I can use like my horse crop to like make a little bit of space, and the other thing that is like I like about my classes is like we just went from a 1/4 acre to 2 acre field, and I still have my clients walk a huge circle. Like I don't keep anytime someone stands still to try to pet a dog or talk, I tap them with the whip like the dog. I'm just like keep moving, because a lot of problem at the dog park is everyone sits still, everyone just like sits still,
Yeah.
and it's hella awkward for the other dogs. They're just like we're just staying in this small space in the park, right? but I keep everyone moving, and it's just like keeps everything so smooth. The dog plays a little bit and comes back to the owner, keeps walking, and there's no being protective of the owner because the owner is always moving, and it's just like everything's in motion. There's no awkwardness at all, and I
I
think it's
think
just
those sound so cool. I
Yeah.
do think you should explain the horse crop a little bit before people freak out.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Obviously, it's not my beating stick that I'm beating dogs or people with, but it's like,
It's like, whoop,
uh,
no, socialize.
well, it's like, for me, like the problem is like we dog trainers, like sometimes we get hasty, or as soon as a dog fight, we feel like we just have to reach in with our hands, right? So it's
Yep.
just like, for me, it's like the horse crop helps me in two ways. It either helps me create space, right? So I can extend it out as an extension of my hand without getting bit of any sort, right? I can just say move. I tap them with the crop, like just the tip at the end, just like a little tet and make them move, right? But like in case, if a dog fight did happen, it's like, sometimes I'll use it to help break up some fights, because I've had it where I've had scars here that I had to break up dog fights, and I have scars like right here with scratches and punctures, But like for me, with the whip, usually maybe like one good tap on the butt or two, and the dog go Reh! And after that when they know when I have it, then I go towards them and I go, hey, I address it. They're like, okay, cool, we're good now, right? But for me, it's like it's just like it helps me communicate with the dogs, whether I need them to move this way or this left or right,
Right.
or if I had to open the gate and let another dog in, like if there's like 10 dogs at the gate, that dog's gonna get bombarded by like 10 dogs.
Yeah.
Where I want to be like move, and create space so then the other dogs come in, because you have stories where like dogs get jumped
Oh yeah, I
by
used to work at a doggy daycare.
yeah, but
Yeah. I carried a stick.
because there's like, especially like when there's a dog fight happening, there's like you have to have there's so many
You have
different
to have
things
something.
you have to have something, like,
Mhm.
and for me
Yeah.
it's like I don't have a hose. Like I don't have freaking barricade block I just carry around, but it's like for me with the horse collar, it's just like, especially like I was taught that by like Heather Beck and like Jason Vasconi, who like Jason Vasconi used to do like a huge acreage. I think it was like 10 acres or something with 80 dogs and like maybe 6 helpers,
Yeah,
Like
I heard about that from the Chad Mackin podcast.
yeah, and so it's like he has like several helpers. Meanwhile, I'm like one person doing this with between like 14 to 20 dogs,
That's impressive.
and I've been doing it for like 5 years so far. And given how I've had my share of mistakes, and there's dogs that just need a little bit more accommodations, but like for the most part, like only problems I had so far is like nice grandmas being knocked over by a Great Dane, which was kind of like maybe like last week, where where nice old lady picked up poop, and then the Great Dane had zoomies and kind of knocked her over, and she kind of sprained her ankle, and I was
Oh
just like,
no.
of course this would happen at the new spot at the new year. Wonderful.
Oh, I feel like
Bound to
everybody had
happen.
a rough New Year.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real. But the whole point was like, like you should have, like, if your if you know a trainer that's providing like, structure socialization, or if like you don't even have to like dog parks is such a 50-50 thing. It's like bringing your kid to a freaking bar, you don't know what you're gonna get, but it's like you can just start off with like having you can even just have you can go to like a sniff spot, like, have you guys heard of those?
Yes, I love sniff spots.
Yeah, like you can have like your own dog park kind of setting, but with like dogs you trust, with like either family dogs or like best friends dogs or things like that, at a sniff spot, and it's private, that no random dog just gonna come in and just spoil the whole thing, right? And you'll just get so many stories between that. And I also am an advocate about also having protection when you live in certain neighborhoods, that people will let their dogs off leash while you're on a walk.
Yep.
Because I had a friend who just had like a 3-month-old 4-month-old puppy that like just got attacked by a dog, like walking on the suburb streets, and their dog and some couple with their dog was off leash in the garage and just came from behind, and like that's worst case scenario.
So what type of protection are you talking about for the listeners and viewers out there?
Like, like I talk about to my clients all the time, where like, you can have maybe like like, I mean, it depends. Like you can have maybe like pepper spray or maybe citronelle, or you can have something where maybe like you can walk with a chuck. You can have like a chuck it that it looks like you're playing fetch with your dog, but you can use this. You can use like the chuck it stick to keep your dog, keep others away, or even like I tell people, bring an umbrella, open up the umbrella, and that usually just
Leashes
helps.
too. You can
Yeah,
swing
leashes.
them
Yeah,
around.
yeah, leashes too. Like have something like that. We have to make sure like our dogs can trust us
Yeah.
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
keep us
Yeah,
safe.
and that's another,
That's
issue
the
with
biggest thing.
socialization. If you have a dog that is, fearful of things and they don't feel that you're going to advocate for them, the next thing that they're going to do is start biting people. Like
Likely.
maybe they don't want to be petted by people, but you're letting all these people pet them all the time. The next thing they're going to do is bite them, and that's kind of why a lot of pet parents out there don't understand body language. And one, that's why you should always have a dog trainer that you trust, that you can work with from the first time you get your puppy. But two, that's also why, like, you should educate yourself on reading dog body language. That way you can know the signs of if your dog's actually comfortable with being petted or not. It's not something that you should just be like, oh, I'm just gonna wait and see how it
And your
goes.
specific dog's body language, because despite what they say on some of these courses, it really is like dog specific, because some dogs are weird. The dog behind me likes to smile, which freaks people out.
So yeah, I couldn't have said it in any other way, but dogs are weird. I mean, because
Yeah.
like I have a pit bull dachshund mix named Charlie, and he is the one out of the 5 dogs in my group that I have to go with him at the vet. I have to hold them for the vet, and then be like, show his teeth, show his eyes, like
Mhm.
and then like freaking like you touch his butt the wrong way, he gets all stiff, tail high, and he just goes, ugh, and I'm like, Charlie, why are you like this? Like,
Drama. I love drama dogs.
he's definitely a drama dog, but he's a weirdo. He's like he tries to be like a good training dog, but he's just a house dog at this point. But yeah, I'm trying to think about what else I was gonna say, but like socialization is such a big
Yeah, it's a huge subject. It's a
big
really
Yeah.
big
topic.
subject.
Yeah, we should definitely come back and talk about fear phases. So I mean that
Oh
if
my
you're
gosh,
listening,
that would be a great one.
yeah, that will be on the next poll. Is talking about fear phases. I think we should definitely talk about like raising your first puppy in the first year.
Yeah, we just barely skimmed the surface on this, but
Yeah, I mean, the whole point of it is socialization. What is it?
all right. Well, we'll probably wrap it up then. All right, Kevin, where can people find you?
You can find me at caninefreedom.com, and here's the doozy is instead of, it's the whole word canine, but you switch the C with a K. The podcast I have is Canine Freedom Dog Talk, and I talk with like really cool trainers like Tyler Muto, Larry Crone, Heather Beck, and some of my other dog trainers that I've met through the IACP, talking about different topics like reactivity or crate training, benefits of board and train, and things like that. And I'm coming up with a whole new series soon. So
That's
Cool. So
exciting.
kind of like us. Kind of like us. I like it.
I was
yeah,
gonna say Kevin talks to much bigger dog trainers than we do. All of our guests that we have lined up so far are kind of everyday dog trainers, and I kind of want to keep it that way for now.
I like that. I like that. I feel like it's a lot of people that we know personally too.
Yeah.
So we know how they train and kind of can bring it in.
Yeah.
for sure. And hey, I would love to have you guys on the series, because I'm still
Yeah.
I'm still working on the roster.
We're here for it.
So
Yeah, let us know when you want us to start and we will.
all right, perfect. That's awesome.
I am Skyler. You can find me at Redemption Dog Training LLC on Instagram and Facebook, or redemptiondogtraining.com. All of this I'm going to put in our little show notes. I'll actually start filling those out this time. Macy?
Yes, I'm Macey Fruget. I am the owner of BossDog Kanine. You can find me at bossdogk9.com or on Facebook and Instagram at bossdogk9 dog training. And yeah, I mean, then you can find the podcast. Where can you find the podcast, Skyler?
You can email us at barkbanterpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on YouTube. The YouTube is usually the best one because you can see us staring into the camera. You can also find us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes doesn't like us, so we are not there, but we are most other places. And that's, yeah. Do we have an out this time, Macy?
I think Kevin should come up with the.
Oh my gosh, we should make the guest do it.
Yeah,
Wait,
yeah,
what?
Kevin. What's your sign off?
Peace out, y'all.
Love it. Yes.
Bet.